So our next item that Suad and I are going to take care of. No one's listening. No one cares. No one cares. Yes, they do. The next item is our film protocol item, and that's item 10, I think. We do. We do. We've got a quorum. So, item number 10, welcome to our team. So, I'm just trying to find the beginning. We'll just take a moment for everyone to settle down. Right, item 10. Welcome, team. Now, I know we've had a workshop on the film protocol, which some elected members were at, so we'd just appreciate a brief reintroduction. Thank you.
Kia ora, everyone. After a long day, hopefully there's a little bit of a change of pace, but just introduce myself and my colleague here. For those of you who haven't come across us before, I'm Corrine Adamson, and this is Marie Jenkins, who's the Screen Facilitation Manager at ATEED. So we've just got a really brief presentation to just cover off a few key points in relation to where we've landed post the workshop that we quite recently had. So just a brief reminder around the nature of the Auckland Film Protocol. So it's a document which sets out a range of information or collates information for filmmakers about the sort of legislation, policies and plans and rules that apply when they are filming in public open space across Auckland. So it's a region-wide document, applies across the whole of the Auckland, the process for applying for a permit to film in Auckland. So it sets out the timeframes that you need to allow in order to apply for a permit. The original Auckland Film Protocol was adopted by the governing body in 2013. At that point in time, the filming was operating under the Legacy Council fee system. So some further work was done to develop a region-wide schedule of fees, and that was adopted in May 2015. And at that time, some minor amendments were made to the protocol document to reflect some of the changes which had occurred since 2013. But as you will all be aware, since 2015, there have been quite a number of big shifts to the Auckland Council policy framework, not least of all the adoption of the unitary plan. There's also been some legislative change, for example, the Health and Safety Act. And there have also been some changes in terms of the technology that's being used for filming, drones being one of the more, common ones that is referred to. So what we've been doing over the last year is really going through a process of reviewing the protocol, and that's really to ensure that it is up to date, reflects the current legislative context, reflects the current policy and process and planning framework of Auckland Council. And when I say Auckland Council, I mean, of all of the Auckland Council family. So this document also applies to the council-controlled organisations. And it was a sort of an opportunity to sort of refresh, update, and look for whether there were areas where we needed to ensure that the protocol covered as a result of emerging technologies or emerging issues and opportunities. So also, I think it's worth noting that Auckland is now recognised quite internationally as a world-class screen production destination. We have a growing film industry based in Auckland. So of those Auckland production agencies that are based here in Auckland, they typically have revenue in and around the $1 billion mark now, so not an insubstantial industry. And in the last year, around $400 million worth of expenditure on production activities, so that was in the 2018 year. So it's a reasonable amount of I guess, revenue moving around the Auckland economy. And we know that there are around 1,300 screen industry businesses that are based here, and they're employing around 6,000 people typically. So I guess it's it does present a reasonable economic base for Auckland. So, and just to talk a little bit about the review process that has been underway. So we have been doing a review against legislation, against plans and policies to ensure that the protocol was up to date. And we've also undertaken quite a wide range of engagement to inform the review and the recommendations that we're making. We've done a fairly substantial number of, I guess, workshops and meetings with subject matter experts from across the Auckland Council group. Not surprisingly, those from the heritage teams, resource consents, unitary plan, social policy and bylaws, local and regional parks have been fairly influential in the changes we've made. We've also been working with Auckland Transport and Panuku Development Auckland, all of whom have a part to play. We have done a series of workshops with local boards where the majority of filming occurs. We have met and worked with staff of the Te Puna Maunga o Tamaki Makaurau Authority to ensure that the way in which the processes and requirements around filming on Maunga are referred to in the document, that is up to date and reflects their policy and processes. We have engaged with iwi to seek their views on the changes that we are proposing, and we have undertaken engagement with the film sector as well to see what they see as the challenges and opportunities around filming in Auckland. And we also undertook some engagement through the People's Panel to get a sense of the views of the Auckland public around the extent to which they support filming. So we did, I guess generally speaking, one of the things that we thought was really great is we saw a high degree of support from the public for filming. And you, in the one of the attachments to your report, you do have a summary of the key themes that have come through our engagement and feedback processes, so I won't go through those in detail. But yes, it was quite exciting to see the fact that we saw quite clear public support and to some extent some level of excitement around filming activity in Auckland. So then in terms of following on from our workshop about a month ago, we have made some changes to the document to reflect the discussion on the day. But generally speaking, we have, I guess, two key recommendations which are really in that sort of policy space. One relates to the permitting timeframes, which are currently 3 to 5 working days, and we are recommending that we retain that timeframe. In terms of the question around the why we considered should we look at changing or amending the timeframes, we have had some feedback that the timeframes are pretty challenging to turn around the applications within that timeframe. But at the same time, we did also have feedback from the sector noting that they see 3 to 5 days as pretty tight for them in order to achieve what they need to, and those timeframes, the 3 to 5 days, are generally comparative with other destinations that we're likely to be competing for. In terms of the core commitments section, which is one of the key sections of the document, we are recommending, as discussed at the workshop, that we go for an enhanced status quo. So we're not really changing the commitments that are being made in the policy document, but we are trying to, I guess, enhance them by simplifying them, streamlining them, and trying to be clearer about what the document is committing to. And then beyond those two, I guess, key changes, really what we are proposing to do is that we are updating the document to ensure that it does reflect current legislation. So there's increased content around health and safety, to ensure that it does reflect Auckland Council's current policy plans, rules and processes. So the unitary plan is now firmly reflected in the document. We are proposing to increase the emphasis on some content, particularly as it relates to ensuring that it's clear that there is an expectation on filmmakers that our natural environment and our cultural heritage are important and need to be protected. And that, there is an onus on filmmakers to ensure that they are respectful of our natural and cultural heritage. We're also proposing some structural changes to the document, really to make it easier to read and navigate for all parties who are likely to be interested in reading it. So that's pretty much it in terms of my presentation, but happy to take questions.
Awesome. Councillor Simpson.
Look, thank you very much. You've done a lot of work around this, and it's naughty of me because I didn't ask this question in the workshop and I was there. But I've been thinking about this. If an opportunity comes, and it's what I'm trying to say, are there exemptions? Is it possible to get an exemption for anything? Is this hard and fast, or is it
Sorry, through the chair, can I just clarify, when you say exemption, so are you asking whether it's possible, if you're a filmmaker, to get...
Yeah.
I think I'll just hand over to Marie, who's...
Virtually every film activity that we have comes through for a permit. We have exemptions for things like allowing vehicles on beaches, and also we have tried to apply for exemptions, for instance, for the dog bylaws, to enable film crews to film with a dog off a lead. We haven't been successful in getting those exemptions, but the vehicle one we have been successful. Does that answer?
I suppose that, I'd hate to lose an opportunity for a one-off if there were certain things, you know what I mean? I was just wondering if there was an opportunity to have an exemption. I don't want to break the rule. I'm just saying it'd be sad to lose something really special if we wanted to keep it. I don't want to do anything wrong and be anti-environmental or anything like that, but I just wanted to know, what's the likelihood of...
I think it's a really good question, Councillor, and I think what we're hoping is in the protocols is as far as possible to tick every single box. However, if it is absolutely critical and, a little bit of discretion needs to be applied, can discretion be applied?
So through the chair, just to clarify, I think there's one of the other things, so for very small scale productions, they don't always need a permit, but that goes again through the process to ensure that, that's effectively for very low or low risk, low scale productions. I think one of the things we do try to reflect in the protocol is it's always a bit of a balancing act, and there are a range of factors which need to be taken into account when making that decision, and that's really, I suppose, why, throughout the document it refers to the need to balance the potential economic benefits with the potential, impacts that can have, and, consider the extent to which you can mitigate those and manage those in order to gain from the particular project and its potential benefits.
Okay. Questions? Councillor Clow.
Where did the Waitakere local board end up with its lukewarm support?
Always very difficult to, obviously, what we're planning to do, just to sort of explain as part of the remainder of this process, is once we've undertaken public consultation, we've made a commitment to summarise that and ensure local boards have a sense of what feedback we have and to seek further views from local boards. I think in terms of the type of feedback we heard from the Waitakere Rangers local board when we went to workshop with them, was that like many, they support the economic benefit that can be gained and the wider, benefits that there often are to communities. But yes, they would like to see a greater degree of ability to scrutinise what films are happening where and when, and take. So I suppose they were particularly keen to see the timeframes extended to allow further consideration of I guess applications, particularly where they might be contentious or they might be complicated in terms of the effects that they might have.
Did Taylor Swift suffer any penalties?
No.
Yes, sorry, for the chair. Taylor Swift, she did on that shoot. They did actually apply for an application and have a permit, but they took on a few more vehicles than what was in the original application. So, as Screen Auckland, we have no ability to enforce or kind of impose any penalties on those productions. I know that she did make kind of a public apology in regards to that, and I know it has had quite a significant impact on the production company that were working with Taylor Swift on her shoot, so it has had bigger implications than, yeah.
Yep. Councillor Filipaina.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, ladies. Financial implications, I'm just a wee bit interested by the word not anticipated to impact on operational budgets. So are you unsure, and if you're unsure, what financial impacts will there be, especially by the use of that word? So, yeah.
Through the chair, I possibly should have been stronger then. That was my sentence. It's probably the standard tendency to not use definitive terms in reports when you're talking about. I mean, there's always the potential for some unanticipated financial implications. But I guess generally our view is that at the moment we're not proposing changing the service levels. For example, if we were proposing that we were going to decrease the timeframes for permits, that would be likely to have financial implications because shorter timeframes probably would mean more staff required to process within those shorter timeframes, given the growing number of permits that are coming through. So our general view is that there will be because we are not changing service levels, there will be no financial implications in an operational sense.
Okay, and Councillor Casey.
It was exactly the same question, but just differently. At the Maunga Authority, we see the film permits come through for each of the Maunga, and the cost of the permit. Is there standard costs? I mean, what about the income that's derived from the permits? Where is that seen?
In regards to the Te Puna Maunga Authority, they actually have their own framework and their own fee schedule that they charge for filming on there. So Screen Auckland facilitate all of those permits for them, but the full cost recovery goes against their framework that they have developed in alignment with the Maunga Authority. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm happy to move the recommendations. This is now going up for public consultation, so a lot of these issues will be picked up. Seconded, Councillor Clow. I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you.